Hello, good evening. How are you doing? I'll say that I've been doing pretty good. Sporadically got some things around the house done, but I spent a good portion of the day just spending time with family, and I've got 2 books that I've been reading, which has been good, making momentum on those. Really excited. I leave next week on Friday to fly out to Salem, Massachusetts. So it'd be nice to go out there. I can't say there. For their Witch City Tarot Convention is what it's called. And I'm going with a friend of mine, so that should be fun. So, yeah. So I'm hopping on a little earlier tonight because Tim and I were trying to figure out dinner. And despite the time, I'm not hungry. He's not really hungry. Maddie's feeling neutral. And of course, my boy, he's got an appetite, so he's down for whatever. So we just generally decided that I'd hop on, knock out my, go live, since we really don't want to eat right now. And then we'll figure out supper after my go live, which makes sense, And plus I feel like, and I know Tim agrees with me on this. If you're not hungry, you really shouldn't eat. I get that, especially kids, which mine are teenagers, they are creatures of habit and all this stuff. And it's nice to have that structure and routine. But at times, if you just don't want to eat, why do it, right? We don't want to teach that to them just to eat for the heck of it. Or it's the other old thing that we used to do too, where you remember how our elders may have told us to finish our plate, everything on your plate. That's not a healthy thing either, because if you're already feeling full, then it just expands your stomach. Which isn't good, so you keep overeating, and that can lead to weight gain. So I guess that's my brief spiel on eating and, healthy habits with that. And I see my hubby's jumping on. Hi, Tim. I was just telling everybody about why I'm hopping on an hour sooner. Let's see. All right, cool. So I've got the Go Live pulled up on my computer, so you guys can feel free to interact with me. I believe I may have somebody else on here. Feel free to drop me a comment to say hello, because let's see here, I still can't tell, so feel free to tell me hi. So what we're going to do is, again, I love this book. Oh, okay, it finally popped on as to who else hopped on here. Hi, Rebecca. Good evening. So I'm going to go ahead and do the spread from Sasha Graham's 365 Tarot Spreads. I really love this book, so if you're looking for a book to give you ideas, it's definitely a good one. And so, as I was flipping through today, I was thinking, ooh, especially with how we had that new moon on Monday, I went right to the Secrets of the Moon spread. And I thought, well, that would be a good one to do tonight. So some recent, or not recent, but some facts about this per Sasha Graham would be: scientists believe the moon was once part of Earth, and it was formed when a Mars-sized object crashed into the Earth 4.5 billion years ago. Like, I totally did not know that, Let's see here. So she says it would have been on March 31st, would have been this spread. It says today, which would have been March 31st, is the Roman festival of Luna, according to Ovid, who describes this ritual worship on Aventine Hill in Rome. Luna, the Roman divine embodiment of the moon, is represented as the female complement to the sun, because it's true that the sun is seen as masculine, the moon is seen as feminine. And a summation of the spread would be: the moon is associated with magic, the psychic, and the feminine. Transformations evolve during her cycles and lunar events. All these lunar aspects inspire the spread's questions. So as you cast your cards, feel her glow and cast cards during the waxing moon. It is a time of magnetism and of attracting good things into your life. So that would be her little brief summation on this spread. She goes a little bit into the moon right here. So, yeah. So that's what we're going to do. And just given my limited space that I have on my altar space, I'm not going to do my cards exactly like she does, because she tends to do a lot of cute shapes on hers that take up some room. So, and again, just like anything with tarot, you do what resonates with you, and your readings will come out because you're doing what intuitively resounds with you, you know. And I see Teresa's on here. Hi, Teresa, welcome. So we're going to do a total of 8 cards. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and point the camera down so you can see my table. And then every so often, I'll still look at my laptop, because you guys know I love interacting with you. So feel free to say hi. Tell me how you're doing tonight. Let's see here. Well, I think it should work. So I won't, like I've been saying, I won't bother going into, like, say if you're reading for somebody, how you establish that rapport and look at the decks, because I don't want to, like, basically beat a dead horse to death going over the same stuff. But, of course, if you have questions regarding that, let me know, or feel free to check out my other tarot teaching moments on YouTube under Mountain Crow Tarot. So now we're going to go ahead and lay out a total of 8 cards. Okay, and I'll put the other ones to the side. So we're going to start with this top row. This one would be my left. So I'm going to work from left to right, and then we'll jump down and do left to right. So the first card stands for the new moon. And oh, I should tell you guys what deck I'm using. It's entitled This Might Hurt Tarot Deck by Isabella Rotman. It's a play. It's a modern play on tarot. It's very diverse. I really like that, and I like the playful imagery on the cards. So if you're needing something that's a bit more modern and fun and colorful, I would recommend this deck. So the first card standing for the new moon, and you guys know new moons stand for a new beginning, right? It's the potential. So what is possible? And we have the King of Cups. And as you guys probably should, are familiar with at this point, if you've been with me for any length of time, the King is one of our court cards. The cups are all about the feeling, emotions that are associated with the element of water. Now, if you look at this, just kind of check out our main character. And despite being out in the middle of this pretty expansive body of water, he's a little elder. He appears very happy. He's got his oars. He's to himself here. And if you look, these are not calm waters around him. They're actually really turbulent. In the background, they're calm. Can you guys see that? But around him, they're actually chaotic and turbulent. And we even have some fish jumping out of the water and back into it. It could be either twilight or dusk, but we have that clarity here. So as far as what is possible, especially when you're talking about the pull of the moon on us, especially in general, I would say what is possible is finding that emotional stability and knowing that in our day-to-day, say, lives, right? We experience a multitude of feelings on a daily basis. To know, just like our King of Cups, we will be emotionally aware of how we feel, but we have to realize that, say, every thought that crosses our minds we cannot allow it to make us sad, angry, frustrated. And if we are feeling these things, it's giving ourselves, or say the person we're reading for, we're talking about this, the space to really reflect on these things and process them, to empower ourselves to theoretically row ourselves out of these chaotic waters into a calmer place, you know. So this would definitely leave open the room for the conversation as to like how are things going? You know, is life a bit messy and chaotic right now, and how's your handle on things? And it would totally go into like, well, how do you kind of tend to yourself and take care of things, right, on a daily basis? Now, one thing I didn't do from the get-go is I just go ahead and flip all my cards over. I don't keep them turned. Okay. Oh, wow, we got some fun ones tonight. And feel free to chime in if you guys intuitively see something different, because I do encourage that. And let's see here. And Rebecca's asking, is this the Moon Mystery Spread? Yes, Rebecca, this is totally the Secrets of the Moon Spread from Sasha Graham's book that I'm following with these 8 cards. Good question. I'm sorry, I know you hopped on a little bit later, and I know I said that at the beginning, but I'm glad you asked that, because I don't want you wondering what in the world I'm doing, you know. So, a very good question on that. So the second card would be standing for the waxing moon, okay? So it would ask us, or our querent, which again, I'll pretend I'm reading for somebody, what are we, or what are you being drawn to at this point in time in your life, right? And we have the Queen of Swords. I like her glasses. I like her victory rolls too. That's a cute hairstyle, I think. And I like it shows a curvier woman. So this is more realistic, having people of various shapes and sizes, which I really love about this deck, because it does. So when I see this, when I see the Queen of Swords, it's all about the logic, communication, thought processes, and this individual is very guarded with what they're thinking, but once they determine that they've got enough data or information, you know, and all of our queens are intuitive, so of course they're going to check in with their gut instinct. This energy, what they say, goes. And of course, here she's holding that knife completely upright, right? She's not going to play around, you know. So when I see this in regard to this reading, what is the querent being drawn to? It could be just the need to communicate and make known what they're thinking, and have more of a voice and a place at the table in a conversation, or even in their own lives. Do they feel like they're in power, that they have control over, especially this emotional state that, say, we had just kind of delved into a little bit? You know, are they in a place to where they feel that they are like a Queen of Swords, or they would likely aspire to have this energy? And if this is where they would like to go, then it would be good to kind of talk about their style, because what works for me may not work for them. And I think one of the big takeaways when we do readings, especially for other people, we all have our own biases. It's natural, and anybody who says they don't have bias, they are not self-aware enough to know they have it. We start having biases from the time we are growing up, with our value systems, belief systems that are ingrained in us. It's part of the environment, that nature versus nurture. So when you're reading for others, it's good to just be very present, listen to them, reflect, and give them the space to be heard, and not judge them. And if in your mind you feel like you're judging the person, be self-aware to know that that is, you know, yes, it's a human thing, but it's not appropriate when you do tarot, especially for other people. Because if anything, these readings are more of a meditative, reflective type thing, right? And it's a safe place for people to be able to converse, to think things through, and ideally a non-judgmental space is what these should be, right? So the third card would be symbolic of the full moon, which would be the question, where does my power lie? Which we were just talking about here. Is this person, are they embodying the energy of the Queen of Swords or not so much? So this third one for the full moon asks, where does my power lie? And we have death. So when I see this, which again, this is one of my favorite cards, death stands for resiliency. It's being open to change and knowing that every ending stands for a new beginning. And so I would say one of the things with this person, with the Querent, I would ask them, do you like change? Are you comfortable with it? And we would discuss why or why not. Because this also could show the need to let some things go that are not good for them, to be able to move forward and get to a healthier place, you know, especially mentally, emotionally, even physically, right? So we would talk about this. I usually, when I pull this card, when I do a spread, I always reassure the Querent that this does not mean someone's going to die or that they are going to die, because I think it's a knee-jerk reaction. This is one of those cards that elicits it, you know. The fourth card would stand for the waning moon, which is what needs to be shed. And we have judgment. I like this card a lot, actually. It may very well be possibly one of my most favorite judgment cards in all my decks. I really love this because I feel like, I mean, face it, we all are hard on ourselves. And sometimes we're harder on ourselves than other people are toward us. So I would ask the Querent, do they feel like they are a bit, you know, too hard on themselves? And they're holding on to these past failures, these conversations that didn't go well and so forth, to where they can't move on. Or, and it could also be the other part of this, do they feel like they're being judged by other people? And again, look at what's in the bubbles around our central figure here, right? There's people, and they're in the form of like spirits, like, but it's kind of like these little bubbles that have like an energy, you know. I always tell people, even at work, sometimes I'll be at work and people out loud will put themselves down, and they know that I'm more of a witchy type person anyway, because I don't hide who I am. And I do look at the person, I correct them off just right on the moment, or at the moment. I'm like, don't speak ill of yourself. When you do, those words take on an energy. And especially if you say it enough, then you're going to grow to believe it, even if it's not true. But that's why they call it spelling. You know, if you have ever heard of that word. So this would lead to a very interesting conversation about that, as to this energy that we need to shed away, you know. And Rebecca says, ooh, that's a great judgment card. I know, right? I love it. It's awesome. So our fifth card, now we're going to work on the second row. The fifth would stand for the lunar eclipse. And the question would be, what darkens, say, the Querent's mood, or our mood, right? We have the Five of Swords. This makes sense to me, okay? Fives in tarot show conflict, and just kind of observe what's going on in the card so that you can intuitively decipher what you take from the card. And as you're learning tarot, you can even take a sticky note, put the sticky note on the back with one word that stands for the card, and then just every day, you know, if you have some downtime, take a few out, and then you flip it over, and then you intuitively determine how you relate to these cards, first and foremost through your intuition, right? So back to this reading, though, what darkens the mood would be just, it depends. And we've talked about this during past tarot teaching moments. Would the Querent or ourselves be this figure where we're taking the knives away from people, okay, and leaving other people to feel vulnerable and not safe and not valued, right? Or in contrast, because that's a hard one to ask, is this us? Or are we this energy? Are we feeling like this? And then look in the background, it looks just very desolate, right? This is not a happy place to be at. So as far as like what darkens the mood, I would ask kind of like, you know, do they feel that their communication with others in general is adequate, or maybe not so much? What's going on in life lately to where it feels like it's not all that great? And when we get to talking, say if that the person's energy is more attuned to this, then we're going to talk about shadow work. There has to be a reason, and we're going way back and it's going to take time, where they would feel the need to be aggressive, which assertive is okay, aggressive is not. It's where you violate the rights of others with communication, to where they need to be dominating, controlling, winning. Where does that stem from if this is them? And then how do they begin the process of healing to where they can invite others into their community and their tribe without making them feel like this, which we wouldn't want others to feel? Or another way would be, is there a figure in that person's life that makes them feel this way? This is how they're left feeling. Is it abusive? If they're being abused, you're going to help them with resources. You'll first honor them you'll be very forthright. Are you being abused at home? We even ask this question of people when they get admitted to the hospital. Are you abused? Are you safe at home? To everybody, no matter what. And we even ask if people are suicidal when we admit them. So you be very forthright when you ask that question, if you believe that's where this reading has went. If they say, yes, I am being abused by my boyfriend, my husband, my wife, or whoever, then you'll be like, you know, would it be okay if, you know, at the end of your reading, we look into resources like, would you like help? You know, can I help you get help? Basically, my thinking is if there's an abnormality of some sort and somebody is in a very vulnerable position like that, you at least want to extend that hand out and be like, you know, do I have the space? Do I have the permission to help you? If they reply no, then you do not try to force their hand with getting them help. People have to want the help, you know. But you always want to make sure people know that they're worthy of being loved. Everybody is worthy of being loved and being safe and respected, because some people believe they are not. And this one would be a loaded card. I think it would lead to a lot of various conversations just from the one, you know. And Rebecca says, yeah, it feels like he's taking all the power. Exactly. Because you see this? I agree with you. He's holding the 3 knives here. The 2 are down by his feet. And then the people behind him look like they're in a very upset, compromised state, feeling very vulnerable in what appears to not be the greatest area to be vulnerable in. You know, so yeah, this is a thought-provoking one, I think. It really is. And so our 6th card would be for the dark side of the moon. And so what it asks us is, what is lurking? What is hidden from us that we may not be aware of, right? We have, and I love that we have this, we have the High Priestess for this one, and I think it's absolutely perfect. The High Priestess is all about the intuitive, the gut instinct. And I mean, even looking at this card, she has the triple moon. She's seated upon a crescent moon. Between her hands, there's knowledge, but she's very guarding of it. Like, she's not just going to give this away. Someone's going to need to sit and be present with her. And you know what I'm saying? Make that eye contact and listen and pay her that space and attention to learn. This is symbolic of all of our intuitions, and a lot of times we silence our intuition because we put more faith into our logic, and it's a disservice. When a lot of times our gut instinct is also an evolutionary thing. It's a way of trying to keep us safe. When things don't feel right, if it's, our intuition is going to chime in. Or even when I do readings, my core, my abdomen tightens up at times. And I'll be very honest with somebody because that's the whole point to tarot. It's not to sugarcoat. You're not doing that person a great service if you're sugarcoating a reading. How do I put this? That we are messengers. So whatever message is delivered to us is what we report to, say, the querent. It is not to pad the querent to give them this rainbow of perfection from a reading. All of us have growth to be had from tarot, but the beautiful thing about it is we have free will. So our decisions and our choices in life and our locus of control over ourselves, just like that, can change these cards. And I always tell people I read for that. This is not the end all be all, but if anything, it's room to think. So what is hidden is maybe the person is not giving their inner high priestess that time. They're not listening to their gut instinct enough, and they might be a little caught up in their head a bit, which honestly, it makes sense to me given how the second card, which, stood for the waxing moon, shows that our querent is drawn to the Queen of Swords. And the swords are all about thought processes, action, communication. So even though this is a queen and there's intuition there, there's also very much logic at play, right? So maybe this is somebody who leans a little bit more into, say, their logic, which kind of goes honestly back to this card. Is their logic weighing a bit more so than, say, their intuition, especially for whatever we're talking about that's going on in their life at that time, right? And then let's see, I see Tennille hopped on. Hi, Tennille, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. And don't worry about jumping on late. You can totally replay this to catch what you've missed. The next card would be entitled Tidal Pull, because the moon has a draw on all of us. So the question would be, where would the querent have, say, the greatest effect or influence on this situation? I love that we're getting the Devil card for this. Now, for a lot of guys, I know this is an uncomfortable card. It's not meant to make people feel good. And what it stands for, yes, this is a picture where someone would think of, say, Satan or whatnot. But what we have here, look at the people below this figure. It's the vices, right? It's the things they willingly choose to do because it helps numb the pain. So we're reflecting on coping mechanisms, and maybe they're doing a little too much of these things, and they feel bound by it. So we would need to talk about, what is it? So in this card, I'm seeing people kissing, they're fighting, drinking. One looks like it's reaching toward the devil. A lot of hands up toward this person, and the devil looks like it's just sitting there smoking a cigarette. This negative energy, if anything, negativity draws negativity when we're talking about the force of attraction, right? So there's some environments and people that might be in our circle that are not good for us, and they cause and draw with them negativity, and they draw that person down into chaos. And so we would need to talk about, especially at this point in the reading, because we're almost done with it, right? Like, what are they feeling so bound to, and are they willingly doing this? Because in the classic Rider-Waite-Smith, we're looking at a man and woman with a chain that is loosely around their necks, and it's of their choosing. The devil's not willingly, like, you know what I'm saying, like kidnapping them and keeping them prisoner. These are people who choose to be there. So that might be something where we need to revisit. We need to look at some change and what does not serve this person. Where do we need to cut some ties to get to a better place, especially with our King of Cups? How are we going to get to these calmer waters, right? Amidst chaos. I know. Thank you, Tim. I know. That devil card's a trip, right? And so our last card would be our 8th card. And it's asking, what is now possible? So what is possible? That's a really big question when you think about it. And I like that we have this because that's the thing. These readings can be pretty brutal. That's why I always tell people to carry Kleenex with them, because I've done quite a few readings where the message is just such a tough message. But I like that there is a little hope from Spirit to show that there can be security. So when we're talking about like Pentacles, we're talking about ourselves, because we're from the earth. We will return to the earth. We depend on the earth for our sustainability. It talks about possessions, home, career. It's the tangible things we have, right? Here we're seeing what appears to be a very stable structure with a family. So it's finding out, you know, what is possible would be maybe finding a more stable community to be a part of. So instead of hanging out with the devil and all of this energy, right? Because this is kind of a depressing energy. This does not look like a fun party to me. Instead, this has a way better energy. It's luminescent. It's very like the sun from the major arcana. We've got that knowledge, illumination. We know where we're going. I think, honestly, it would be somebody taking a really close look at their social circles and why they choose to stay in them. People do generally have different reasons for that, but to find their people, and it doesn't have to be blood. A lot of times the family in this life, it's the family we choose, you know? And I won't take up any more of your time tonight as far as like with the reading. But one thing I did think of that you guys might be aware of would be the Moonology Manifestation Oracle cards. So even though they're not tarot, you could totally take a deck like this and do this spread and see what answers you get based on a deck that is solely based on the moon. And you know, with your oracle cards, you can still intuitively look at them, then open up the book, because those oracle cards are so meaty too, right? And see what they have to say. But I would say first and foremost, trust your intuition. And my hubby says, I like how this spread ends, especially what is holding you back and what is possible is a great way to wrap up a reading. I like that too. A great chance to give focus to the reading and end positively. I really like that a whole lot, because it's such, like what we just went through, it would be such a heavy, brutal reading, right? Whether it be for ourselves or if we're doing it for somebody else. So to be able to have a little bit of hope, some light in the darkness to strive toward, is a great way to end things. Say if you don't get a card like that and you still want to be of service, and I would say take great care of your querent and make sure that they're leaving feeling empowered. Or even when we read for ourselves, that we determine, well, how do I take ownership of my life and what I'm doing right now? This is what's not working, and the cards are telling me this. So what can I do to change the road that I'm on, you know? And Rebecca says, always need to find the light. Yes, every day we need to find the light, because I think some days are darker than others, and we need each other. If anything, that pandemic that we got through, and I know we all hate to even hear about it, but it showed us humans need humans. It is not normal to be in a house to yourself constantly, not interacting with your community. And we saw, each and every one of us, the impact it had on our families and our community. So even when people might say, well, I don't care what people think or whatever, I think, if anything, that person just needs to be loved a little bit harder, because I think they've gotten hurt along the way. And that's their way of saying they don't need people. But everybody needs people, maybe in different ways, because we're all different. But, you know, but I agree. I love this, you know. So, yeah. So if you want, what I could do is I'll have supper with my family. And then what I'll do tonight is I'll make a little thing off my Canva app, which is how I make the cute pictures in my group. It's a really cool app. And I'll put down the steps to this reading so that you guys can do your reading. And I would encourage you to do it for yourself, of course. And if you feel drawn to, then to read for others. Because it's so rewarding when you do, you know. And it's nice to be able to help people out. So thank you so much. It's great to see you guys on here tonight. You make my heart so happy. I'm going to try to do a Taylor Swift heart, you know. I can't do it quite like her, but you guys have a piece of my heart. Thank you for honoring me with your presence and your time. And I'm here if you ever need me. And Rebecca says, I just bought this book. Cool. And I can't wait to do some of these spreads. Oh my gosh, you are going to love this book. I have looked through so many spread books. This is my favorite. It really is. Yes, and you too, Tennille. Have a great night. And I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.